Hello and welcome to our quick start guide for our EA, where we're going to show you as quickly as possible how to get going with our expert advisor for MetaTrader. So let's talk about installation to begin with. Let's imagine you've downloaded perhaps our demo file. The place it needs to go to, if you go to Open Data folder in MetaTrader, and you need to go to MQL4, or if it was MetaTrader 5 it would be MQL5, and then you need to go into the experts folder and just save the downloaded file into there, and then either restart MetaTrader or right click refresh on expert advisors and it'll actually appear in there. Also you need to make sure under tools, options, under expert advisors, make sure you've added our website to this list. Allow web request URL, so that's the HTTP without the S and then the //RuwiseFX.com. Just make sure that's in there, and then you'll be able to add the EA to the chart. Initially it'll come up with like an activation dialog where you just fill in the details that you receive, say if you've downloaded the demo version, and then you should then get our EA coming up on the chart and it's pretty much ready to go straight out of the box. Okay, so let's go through the panel. One of the things that we do recommend is using MetaTrader chart shift just to move your candles over to the left so that you can see our labels there don't go over on top of the price action. So just make sure under your chart properties you've got the common, you've got the chart shift enabled, and that allows you with that tab there to move the candles around. The panel itself, you can click on that top bar and you can just move it around to reposition it where you fancy. Okay, we can also make it bigger and smaller, and there's also a minimize button as well. Then we've then got news events, and if you've added our website to that allow web request URL, that will be populated. Got a bit of status text where it'll show you like the profit and pips and amount when a trade's open. We've got some trend arrows which show you how the market's moving in different time frames, and the numbers are like the pips that it's moved in that time frame. Everything is configurable though, so for example under config, which allows you to configure the system, we've got all these beautiful pop-up dialogues. So instead of messing around with like EA inputs, you can just use these. So under display, if you wanted to turn off those arrows, you could just untick there and then just blank out that box. And you can also adjust like the number of news lines and things like that. Click save and you can see now those arrows have disappeared. So if you didn't want them, they actually use up a bit less memory actually if you do that. We've then got the one-click trading buttons, which will open trades when you press those. We've then got the lot size that's being calculated, and by default it's on a risk of 2% per trade. So it'll look at the stop loss and then it'll work out the necessary lot size to risk 2% of your trade. Now as mentioned, it's configurable, so if you go to config, the place where that would be configured is in risk lots. So you can see there we've got like this radio button selection list of various popular methods for setting the lots, and the default is 2% risk of your trade, and obviously you can adjust that. Got a fixed amount per trade, amount per pip, dynamic lots quite popular, which is per 1,000 ballots, or fixed lots as well. So if you click save, obviously that would make any changes to that, and then you get your lot size there. We've then got some controls for setting up pending order. We'll perhaps talk about that in detail a bit more later, and for setting for break even when you've got a trade open. Right, I guess the first thing we perhaps need to do is just check that we've got this smiley face on the panel, and this actually allows you to open and close trades. And if you haven't got a smiley face, just check you've got this auto trading button enabled with the green play button, and on MetaTrader 5 it's called algo trading. And also under your expert properties, just check on, you've got this allow live trading under the common tab, which again in MetaTrader 5 is called I think algo trading, and just make sure that's ticked, and hopefully then you will see the smiley face. If you still see a sad face, then you may need to ask your broker to enable expert advisors on your account. Okay, so configuring the system, perhaps the first thing we need to think about really is the stop loss. So if you go to config and then click on stop loss, that's where you can configure the default stop loss. So we've got by default it's automatic. We've got the various calculation methods. The default is on the average true range. And you can see there we've got the properties that relate to that calculation method, in this case the period and the multiply factor. But if we set something like parabolic SARS, quite a popular one, then you can see that's changed now to the step and max. You can of course use the radio selection list to select fixed pips or a fixed amount to risk, or there's a rule, that's if you've downloaded some rules from our library. We'll talk about that a bit later, or you can just turn off the stop loss. You can also apply like a minimum and maximum to the automatic calculated value, just to make sure it's not either too shallow or too big. And another little option that's quite popular is just add on an extra pip. A lot of traders like just to add on that extra pip to the parabolic SAR. You can also turn on trailing by default. The system uses a hidden stop loss, and we really recommend that. Your broker is not your friend. It's a good idea to hide your true stop loss from your broker. We do set a broker stop loss, but it's a configurable distance away. You can see there it's an extra 50% further away. The other thing to tell you about our configuration pop-ups is it's possible to control what the changes relate to in terms of which symbols and which time frames. So at the moment it's for everything, but you can see there's a nice selection list. Depending on what charts you have open, you can change different time frames. Or if you click that select box, you can actually type in what you want there, and you can even just put currencies in. So if you wanted to have a different stop loss for the Japanese currency pairs, this is how you could do it, and then the changes that you're making would just apply to that. But we'll leave it as all symbols and periods. We recommend that unless you're making a very specific change. So just click save, and you can see now we've changed now to the parabolic calculation method, which is just really in the direction that the market's going in. So you can see there we're in a buy situation according to the parabolic SAR. So you can see the sell now has gone orange because there's no stop loss available. We've just got a stop loss for the buy, and that now is calculating that lot size. The next thing to think about really is on the take profit side. So if you go to config take profit, and we've got a very clever system here where you can actually have multiple targets. So at the moment what we've got by default is a 1.2 risk reward ratio with a full exit when that is reached. But what we can do is have more levels. So if you click on here, we can have up to 10 at the moment, and let's select say 2. So what we could do is perhaps on risk reward ratio of 1 we could exit 50% of the trade. And then on risk reward 2, we could set that to close 100%. So this percentage is based on the original trade size. So we say we want to close 50 and then close all together. But you can set the targets, not just in risk reward ratio, we've also got pips or a specific amount as well is available. And you can get other adjustments to be made when the take profit levels are reached. So for example, you can set for break even, you can start it trailing stop loss, and you can actually make stop loss adjustments. So you could say set the stop loss say to 10 pips when the first target's reached. Now if you go to Appendix A in the manual, we've got loads of great examples for all the different scenarios that you might be interested in. So just go to there and you just see some nice screenshots, and it explains just how you set up each different scenario. Just to tell you about our break even, that is a separate mechanism to the stop loss. So it's a bit like having a secondary stop loss, and you can also capture a pip or 2 profit as well by setting that box. So you won't see the stop loss move, but what it will do when it's set for break even, it will still exit the trade when it gets down to that original open price. And also if you look at Appendix A in the manual, you'll see that we can actually set a negative value for the exit percent where it can actually scale in and add to your position. And you can even set a negative value for the target where it actually acts as a stop loss, where you can make adjustments if the trade goes against you. And you are allowed to not exit at all and just use a take profit just to take action and just set for break even and not actually exit at all. So it's a very, very flexible system, but don't panic. Loads of great examples, Appendix A of the manual. Okay, so we'll stick with that. So we click save. So you now see that we've got the 2 take profits there. Okay, so the config button allowed you to set like the default, but very often you may want to make what we call on-the-fly changes, where for a particular trade you may want to make, like I say, a manual adjustment. So what we can do on these lines here with the labels, you can see this like little pin icon. So what it's possible to do is to unpin it, and then you can click and just drag around and just move it to a particular manual price, and then just pin it back into position. And you can see the take profit's updated there because it is on risk reward ratio. And when it's been pinned back, you can just click on the label and you can just set a specific price via that method as well, or particular pips or an amount. And if you wanted to put it back to automatic, you could do. You can also control the stop loss and set for break even. So let's put it back to automatic, click OK, and it'll go back to the automatic value. And on the panel there, you can make that on-the-fly change of break even, which you can just set there when a trade's actually open. You can put buttons onto the panel for making those on-the-fly changes with that SLTP there, so you could also control things through there. So for example, you could just see that same pop-up. Okay, so I think it's time now for us to open a trade. So all we need to do is just click the buy button, and it's going to open the trade. Now don't worry, we're going to cover automatic trading and indicators a little bit later in the video. We're just going through the manual stuff first, but please do watch the manual settings because it's still important that you know how to control the EA in that way. So you can see now we've opened the trade. The lines have gone dashed to show that they're active. This is our hidden stop loss. Or sometimes called a virtual or stealth stop loss. And as you can see, we've got the broker stop loss, but it is further away. So the broker thinks your stop loss is there, but this is your actual stop loss, and that's great. We want that. Same story for the take profit. Again, we're using a hidden virtual take profit, and that's essential actually for doing things like partial closes as well. And you can see on the panel a close button has appeared, and you can do partial closes if you wanted to change that to percentage to exit. And you can also scale in as well and add to your position. So that's a popular feature as well. So if you wanted to close that trade, all we need to do is just do close, and then just have, there's a confirmation pop up, which you can turn off via some EA input to turn that off. And that's it. That's the sort of manual open and closing. Now the next thing we should talk about is the pending orders system. So you can see we've got controls there for the sell direction and then the buy direction. And you can set the pending order via this control here. So let's have a little look at that. If you click it, we've got this pop-up. Now we use hidden pending orders where it's actually controlled by the EA, and this allows us to do things like perhaps just alerting when the price is reached rather than opening a trade, or waiting for the candle to actually close beyond the line as well. But the default is to just trade when the price is reached. We then need to think about where the price is going to be for the pending order, which we can set a specific price, or you can set it and the default is for a particular number of pips. But we've actually got a percentage in there by default, which means percentage of average daily range, and we explain that more in the manual. But if you just wanted straight 10 pips, you could just get rid of that percentage sign. You can then also set expiry if you're interested in that. There's various methods for defining how you're going to explain the expiry. Is it going to be in minutes, seconds, and so on. And you can also set up bracketed pending orders, where it will set up both a buy and a sell pending order by default. So if you click OK, and you can see it set up the pending order, it automatically sets either a stop or limit type depending on where it is in relation to the price. I should just say, by the way, if you go to pending orders, you can set the defaults for expiry and the default offset. It's got the popular one cancels other as well set in there, and now the system's going to trade when that price reaches that pending order. Okay, so we've almost finished going through the panel. Perhaps one extra thing to mention, these vertical lines, they're for the news events. And this is all configurable under display, so you can decide what impacts to show. You can also control the visibility. We've got the average daily range that the EA will place on the chart, and the spread as well, so that can be controlled. And also quite popular is to get rid of these lines when you minimize the panel. So we've got this the options to hide things when you minimize. Also, I should say, if you're interested in things like the daily pivot and weekly pivot, that is actually built into the EA, and you can enable those. And also some daily support and resistance lines are quite popular as well. Okay, so it's now time to get showing you some of the more exciting parts of the system. So the first thing to start talking about is our library on our website. So if you go to RuwiseFX.com/library, we've got an amazing library of configuration that you can download into the EA. So there's lots of things there. We'll be going through some of these things about setting up pending orders, displaying information on the chart. We've got all sorts of exit rules, perhaps exiting the trades before the weekend is quite a popular one, or before high impact news events. Also doing daily take profits as well is very popular. And you can also add extra buttons to the panel, so things like close all trades button or close trades in profit, doing hotkeys as well, so on key presses you can open trades. And there's all things, you know, relating to different methods for setting up the stop loss, and it's just a great list, and we're improving this all the time, so do check that out. So let's show you how to use some of these rules. So let's perhaps look at that one that I mentioned about exiting just before the market closes on a Friday automatically, because it's not a good idea to have your trades open over the weekend really, because they can be like market gaps. So in our library we've got these quick load codes. So we've got this E-M. So all we need to do is go to config, type in E-M, and then click download. There's a little confirmation pop-up. So that's going to go to our website and it's going to download that rule, which does this Friday exit at a particular time. If you see times, it's usually always server time. And that's it. It's going to do that now for you. So it'll close all your trades when it gets up to Friday, just before the market closes at midnight server time. If you wanted to change the value of these boxes, I mean, obviously you can edit the box for just a particular, to change it for a particular chart. But if you wanted to change the default, if you go to config, you can see these rule GUI controls. And then if you select the list, you can see the Friday exit control there, and you can change the default value. So if your broker ran on a different server time, perhaps with GMT, then you can change the default value. You can also make it so that it's not visible on the panel, so it's not taking up space, but it's still there. You just will use the default value. So click save. So although the control has disappeared, it's still active. And if you want to see what trade rules are active, you go to trade logic rules, and you can see there that we've still got the Friday exit rule in there, and that pop-up could be used to control if it's enabled or not. And then if you decide, well, actually I'm going to be doing some time, I'm going to be doing trades out on the daily chart, so I don't want to be closing trades actually at the weekend, and you want to remove the rule, if you go to tools, and then you'll see a selection list of all the codes that you've downloaded, and you can just select it and click remove. It'll just ask for confirmation, and it'll now remove that rule for you. And you'll see now if you go to config, trade logic rules, now that has been removed. So there's nothing in there now. So that's how you can get things from our library. There was another rule in there for displaying information on the chart, like a matrix of indicators. It's a surprisingly powerful system. I mean, you can get a good idea of how powerful it is if we just type that code. That was just a quick load code of D, download, click OK. So now what it's doing is it's going to go to the market. It's going to calculate a load of indicators over different time frames. So you can just see how powerful our scripting engine is that's built into the EA. So it's just amazing what you can get it to do through configuration. Okay, so we can now talk about the automation of indicators. So let's have a little look in our library again. You can see at the top there we've got some settings there for both custom indicators and standard indicators like moving averages and things like that. But let's have a look in the custom indicator settings. And we've got some great free items here where we've got links both to actually download the indicator to install it onto your platform, and also the quick load codes that actually give you the configuration necessary to actually capture that indicator value. So let's have a look at this one, this non-repainting super trend. So we've actually got it already installed on the platform. So it's there, that's the non-repainted super trend. Let's put it onto the chart so you can just see what it looks like. And it just gives you a nice sort of buy and sell signal. So what we can do to automate that if we go to config indicator values to capture, and we've got some boxes you could fill out, and we've got a separate video about how to fill these boxes out. And don't worry, you don't have to fill out all of these boxes, it's just really about the indicator name and just the color index. But because this is in our library, we've actually got the settings already in the library, so we can just actually use this these quick load codes. So we've got there that non-marine painting super trend, so we just copy that quick load code, just go to config, just paste it in and click download. And what this is going to do is download the settings necessary to capture the indicator. So now if we go to config indicator values to capture, we can see now we've got an entry there for the non-marine painting super trend where we set the inputs, set the necessary color index that we need to examine, and it's all ready to go now. So the EA can actually trade that indicator. And all you need to get it to do is go to general settings, and at the moment by default it's actually going to just alert you, but if you wanted to get it to trade you just set it to TC, and that would actually open and close the trades for you. You can actually even set some trading hours as well if you just want to trade during a particular part of the day, and that's going to auto trade that indicator for you if you were to set that to TC. But what we can also do is we go to config, I've got this activate statistics button, and if we do that, what it's going to do is examine that indicator historically. So we'll actually look back through the chart and just look at the sort of entries that it gives you. So it'll show you the simulated trades. You've got the open price there, that's your actual stop loss at the time, and then you've got the close of the trade and then the profit that was achieved. At the moment we've got a risk reward ratio set, so it just closes out when it's achieved a particular amount, and then it creates this really nice statistics window where it's showing you the number of trades and then the profits that's achieved and the drawdown that occurred, relative drawdown. So you can just get some really fast statistics. It's much more convenient than using the MetaTrader strategy tester. But also what we've got is the product running on different charts. So what we can also do is we've got this show other chart results tick box, and if you tick that, what it's going to do is to go to those other charts, it's going to get them to also calculate, and then what it will do is it will create a table of all the results. So it's showing you there the profit and the drawdown, and then it's also ordered them on profit. So this would take you ages to do in the MetaTrader strategy tester, but there you are, you get it within seconds, and it's ordered them on profit. So you can just see now the best sort of symbols and time frames to be trading, because it's just all listed there. And now what we can do is to add in extra indicators to try and improve these results. You can see we've got the table, and at the bottom we've got the average profit for the whole lot and then the average drawdown. So what we can do is to see if we can improve on that. So if we go back to our library, and obviously this list we're improving all the time, you know, I mean everything with our product is just getting better and better all the time. Another great indicator is this FGDI. And what this does is to actually look at the market to see if it's actually trending or not. And if the market's just flat and choppy and not very nice, it'll actually just filter those trades out for you. So if we add that in as well, so again, copy. Now don't forget, you do also have to install the indicator onto your platform and get it into your indicators folder. Make sure it, you know, it works on the chart. All we're doing with our quick load code is just downloading the actual settings for it rather than the indicator itself. So just download, click, and now what it's going to do is going to add in that FGDI into the mix of indicators that we're looking at. It's going to recalculate, it's going to decide, and you can see there that we've had an improvement. The average profit has gone up, and we've also had a reduction in the drawdown, which we do want to see. We do want to see that drawdown come down a little bit if possible. And also in our library, you can see how we've got the settings for the indicator, which is all about just trading if the value that the indicator provides is above 1.8. And what we've also done, and we explained this in other videos, we've got a priority called high and start. And what that is doing is when it checks the indicator, is if it's not in agreement, then it will just like void the entry, so you'll get these like grey X's will appear if it's not going to actually trade that. So if it's not in agreement, it just won't try and open the trade. So it can be used, that high and start priority, for cherry picking. But as I mentioned, we've got another video that explains that. Obviously this is just a quick start guide, but hopefully the main thing is you can just see how you can add in indicators just to see what makes an improvement. And if you add something in that doesn't improve the situation, makes it worse, you just press that revert button and it'll revert back to your previous configuration. So if it didn't make an improvement, you can just easily go back. Now the other amazing thing to show you is optimization. So if we go to config, you'll notice we've got this stats and optimization pop up. And what this is about doing is getting the system to automatically try different stop loss regimes, take profit, different indicator inputs to see if it can improve the profit, but without increasing the drawdown. So we can see here, the first bit is how far back you want it to look. So we've got like it's going to go back 10,000 bars, 10,000 candles. Fine to keep on normal priority. Perhaps we'll set that to max if you're doing things like trailing stop losses and so on, where you need it to just look at the particular sort of pip per pip movement. And to actually start the optimization process, we've got the start button there. But if you take this, what it's going to do is send this button press to all the other charts. So it's going to optimize everything all at once, using if you've got a multi-processor computer. So just click start, and what it's going to do, it'll do like an initial pass, and then it's going to start the optimization process. So what it's doing, for example, in the stop loss, it's going to go and it's going to try all these different calculation methods. Not only that, but it's going to try all the different properties as well, and things like fixed pips, and a similar situation for the take profit as well, and on things like with the indicator values. So for example, with that non-repeated super trend, there's different inputs. So it's going to try different inputs which will affect the way the indicator calculates, just to see if it can find an improvement for you, which will be reported here. And then when it finds an improvement, it will save that to the configuration for that particular symbol and period, and then it'll automatically use that improvement going forwards. So this is something that you could get the system to do at the weekend, for example. So we've got there's an option where you can actually get it to trigger, say at the weekend when the market is closed. So that's just so get your computer doing something useful over the weekend, so it can just try and improve the profit, but without increasing the drawdown. So obviously it'll take a little time to run, but you know, it's something that you just perhaps do need to do perhaps once a week, or even once a month would be fine actually. So you can see here it's been finding improvements now. It's been looking at the different stop losses, and it's found ones that improve the profit. So now what it'll do, it'll just save those settings that provided that profit, and that will automatically use that going forwards. And don't forget, just to say again, it is doing this on multiple charts, so it really is getting full benefit. If you've got a multi-core computer, most are these days, you're getting the full benefit of that, and this is far more efficient and faster and more convenient than using the MetaTrader strategy tester. Okay, so we're nearing the end of the video. So obviously this is just a quick start guide. If you go to the video section, you get some more detailed videos. There's a good one for configuring custom indicators. A really nice one as well to have a look at is this thresholds, priority and reset. So this just looks at a few of those subtle settings that we just touched on, like that priority, high and start setting. It explains it in much better detail. So do check out our other videos. Just a few extra things that we didn't get a chance to cover, but really perhaps should mention just very briefly, is this multi-trade mode is very important to know about. So this is all about if you want to have multiple trades in the same direction, but with like an independent stop loss take profit. So if you say that to say 3, that will allow you to have 3 separate trades open in the same direction. So that can be popular if you want to do sort of multiple trades. Sorry, it's 3 additional trades. So you've got the original index 0, which is the main trade, and then you can have up to 3 additional ones. And that's also includes if you want to open multiple pending orders in the same direction as well. You'd use multi-trade mode for that. We've got trade copying, which is available for multi-account. That's just for manual trades where you can have like one master account, multiple slave accounts on the same machine. And the final big thing to mention briefly, if you go to RuwiseFX.com/app, we actually have our own app which allows you to control all the EAs centrally, even on different accounts. If you've got multiple accounts, even on different computers, it can handle those. So you can just see there that you can just manage everything from a central location and look at all your trades and even look at the charts and so on. So just check out that link, and all the details are in there. Well, if you've got any questions or stuck on anything, please email us at support@RuwiseFX.com, and thank you very much for watching.